Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode. I'm back with Shobha today. So Shobha is an author, and yeah. So thank you very much for being here. It's my pleasure to have you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for inviting me, Lakshit.
Yeah, my pleasure. So it would be wonderful if you could introduce yourself, what you do, and take us through your work more deeply. And yeah.
Okay, so my name is Shobha Narayan, and I'm the author of 5 books. I have written about food and faith for my last book, Food and Faith. Before that, I wrote about buying a cow in Bangalore and the whole process of that. And that book was called Cows of Bangalore. And before that, I wrote about how I lived in New York and returned to India. And that book is called Return to India.
Mm-hmm.
And the first book is called Monsoon Diary, a memoir with recipes. So I have been, there are 4 nonfiction memoir books. And the one book that is of interest to you or your listeners, Lakshit, given that it's about self help, is called Katha, Tell a Story, Sell a Dream. It is for entrepreneurs who are pitching their companies or their ideas. How do you tell a story so that people will buy into your dream, which is what you're doing?
Yeah, true, true. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, thank you very much for, helping us with the name and everything. So Shobha, it would be wonderful if you could, take us more, take us through your journey of writing and what you write about and how did you become an author and they take through your journey in more deeper. It would be wonderful. Would be very happy to know.
Okay, thank you. So I grew up in South India in Chennai. I currently live in Bangalore. And I was one of those kids who always wrote poetry and fiction and everything. And then I trained in Columbia, the journalism program of Columbia University in New York. And after that, when I moved back to India, I started working for Hindustan Times.
Oh.
I have been a columnist with them for the last, I don't know, till now, actually. I started about 14 years ago, and I've been writing for them ever since. I wrote first for Mint Lounge, which is a national business paper, and then I moved to HT Brunch, which is mostly published for North Indians. In Bangalore, we don't get it. And now I write for their Bangalore paper of Hindustan Times. So I write a column called Bangalore Talkies, which is
Oh,
about Bangalore.
oh,
And between that, I have written for the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, Time Magazine, Condé Nast Traveler, a lot of international publications and national ones. I love writing about food. I love writing about travel and culture, about our beautiful rituals and traditions. So, this last book that we are talking about in your show, Lakshit, is called Food and Faith, Pilgrim's Journey Through India.
okay, okay, yeah, really beautiful. It's wonderful to know that you have written for so many of newspapers and publications. That's wonderful. So the discussion I wanted to have with you was about food and faith. So how do you see food and faith? What's your perception on food and faith? How
Yeah.
what is it is all about in the Indian context, or if you would like to also share in the maybe the US context of it, or maybe the European context of it would be wonderful also. Yeah.
Okay. So, Lakshit, the book is about prasad, or what we call in South India prasadams. And what I did was I visited a number of shrines all over India, and I wanted. When I was your age, Lakshit, I was a atheist. I said I grew up in a very devout Hindu family, but when I was in college, I said I'm not religious. I'm done with my faith. So then I said I don't believe in God. All this usual stuff. Then slowly, I returned back to Hinduism, and I said, I need to figure out what my relationship is with my faith, with Hinduism. I said the simplest way to do it, given all the controversies that are swirling around religion in the time we live in, is through food. So I said I will visit about 20 temples and write about the prasad. So, for example, I know you're from Rajasthan. I went to Jaipur and I visited the Gobind Dev Ji temple. I visited Nathdwara. I visited Kashi. I visited in Kerala. I visited, there are 2 temples. One is known for the Pal Payasam or the Kheer. I visited that. In Karnataka, the state we both live in, I visited Udupi. There's a matha there, and they do a huge feast. I visited that. Haridwar for the Kumbh Mela. So Ajmer to the Dargah. And then I also wanted to include Buddhism. So I visited Nepal. There is a shrine there. So essentially, food and faith is about making sense of my religion through prasad and what it means to be a Hindu. So that's what the book is about.
Okay.
And
And did it help you in reigniting your faith in God or in religion? But did it help it in any way, or you just see it? I think it's all fine. We live in a world with people who believe in different things, and I think that's what is most beautiful about this world is. There are this plenty of people with plenty perspectives and plenty of stuff believing in and they like to do. So my question to you is, did it help you? Did it reignite your faith in religion or God or whatever you may would like to call it, or did you just did it make you love the food and know that the Hindu temples have very good food which could help a lot of people know about food and the culture?
yeah, so the short answer is yes, Lakshit. It helped me figure out my relationship with God. Um, because I went it with a very skeptical mind. I said, so I went to Jagannath Kshetra in Puri, in Orissa, and everybody said the pandas there, the priests there, they will harass you and they will take money from you. And I'm thinking, these people are close to God. They are supposed to be holier than us. They're supposed to not be having all this money grabbing and everything. So I gradually changed from being a very skeptical, very suspicious person to somebody who understands the meaning and the reason why India is so spiritual. For example, if you go to Greece, I have not been to Greece myself, but in Greek mythology, they talk about all the gods. In Roman mythology, they talk about the rain god, the thunder god, Zeus, and Hermes. But if you go to today's Rome or today's Greece, all those gods have vanished and Christianity has taken. Whereas in India, if you go to different parts, in Kashi, for example, you still see the snake charmers, you still see the ancient traditions that have never left this land.
Mhm.
And we call this avatars. I mean,
Yeah,
there is a Dashavatar, of
yeah.
course, but in scholarly religious works, they say avatars are when the gods come through the clouds and be in the land. And in India, that long tradition of our relationship with the elements, whether it is Varuna, Vayu, Indra, Agni, all the five elements, that's how every religion started. You go to Egypt, you go to China, every religion started with our relationship towards the elements. How, as we are early on, when we were wandering through the earth, oh, there is a thunderstorm. How can we tame the thunderstorm? How can we are afraid? How can we protect ourselves? So you start worshipping the lightning and the thunder and the rain. India, we still continue that. Most other religions have given that up. I think that's really special that we have not given up that long history that we have towards the Panchabhutas, the five elements. And here we still celebrate all that. So I went from being a very suspicious, very skeptical person and thinking, what is the use of religion today? Now everything is understood, to saying, religion, especially during COVID, is a way for you to calm yourself down. Is a way when things don't make sense for you to say, Are Baba, I need help. It is a way to cling on to something that is bigger than yourself. So I have gone 180 degrees from one side to the other
Other
side.
side. Yeah, yeah. So you were speaking about, of course, the colonization or the I think the way we had people. I think even today there are a lot of these. I'm not getting the word right now. Missionaries who come and convert people. So that was the thing which happened in Greece. We already know that's the reason these religions vanished, and then we have very very few just things about and we know about them. So my question to you is, uh, why do if you have studied anything about it or if you have any knowledge about it, it would be wonderful that if you could share. Why do you think these almost every older, I think Hinduism is the oldest religion in the world, as I've read. So my question to you is, why do you think Hinduism has been able to keep that old culture and the tradition even today? Of course, because of the modernization, globalization, things have changed. The way rituals happen, the way we believe in, the way we have changed stuff, maybe the rituals we do. they have changed, that's for sure, because that's what life is. We have to evolve and change. So my question to you is, why do you think that people who believe in Hinduism, or why and how have been Hinduism is even existing even today, with I think a lot of followers even believing today? Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a good question, Lakshit. I think that is, the old cliche that Bharat is a tolerant country. We are accepting of all faiths. So I think my grandmother used to say this. I don't know if your grandmother said it too. Is like, if you want to survive in the world, you shouldn't be like a very strong tree because it will break. You should be more like a sapling that goes and sways with the wind and the water. Hinduism, that sense, has been, we have not. Um, Hinduism, in that sense, we have not resisted. When the Mughals come and they brought Islam, chalo, come in. And when Christianity came with Saint Francis, we said welcome. The Jews landed in Bombay off the shores of the Konkan coast, welcome. So by accepting, we became stronger. We didn't become weaker. And this polytheistic religion that is Hinduism, which is, by that I mean a religion that worships multiple gods, unlike monotheistic religions, which like Islam and Christianity, only one God. So we are by nature, Hinduism is comfortable holding multiple gods, multiple religions, multiple viewpoints. We are comfortable with that. So I think the fact that we are a polytheistic religion allowed us to accept, absorb, and they became part of us, and no problem. So I think we've survived by being accepting.
Okay.
That's our strength.
Okay, yeah, great, great. So, you also speak about prasadam. You also speak about food. So, my question to you is, why do you think food becomes an important part of any culture? Why do you think food plays a very big role in any culture? Well, yeah,
So uh, you spoke about two things, Lakshit. One is the prasadam or the prasad and the food. Food we have in common with Italians, love food. Every culture loves food. But this idea of prasad is very unique to Hinduism, because while Christianity and Islam, they have offerings, holy offerings. This whole idea that if you go to each temple has Tirupati Balaji has laddu, you go to the Harmandir Sahib, which I write about, the Golden Temple, they have the langar. So every few miles, each temple has its own prasad. And you go to the Shani Bhagwan temples, they have the sesame rice, and they offer it on Saturdays. So this idea of prasad is very unique to our country, because I think the way that it has been formulated is that people, now all these global name brand chefs, they talk about eating locally, seasonally, and regionally. So they say you should eat the food that comes from your land. If in Karnataka, as you know, millets are now very popular,
yeah,
they say you should eat with the seasons. We figured all that out a long time ago, because our temple cuisine is all very much of local food. The Jagannath Kshetra, they only use the local pumpkin, the local yams, colocasia. They don't use the foreign vegetables, tomatoes, green chilies, none of that. They use pepper for seasoning. Similarly, in the Annapurna Temple in Kerala, the palpaisam is made with one very specific local rice grown in Kerala.
hmm,
The Udupi Temple, I don't know if you have been, Lakshit, they don't use, they use a brinjal called matta gulla, which grows only in that area.
okay,
So we are already eating locally and seasonally, and we do the vrata, which is many elders in India still on Ekadashi day they fast. So we have our vratas. Now we call it intermittent fasting.
fasting.
So what I found was that and any time I go to, if I've never been to Jindal, but if I go, they'll say for detox, you give up certain foods and then you add them back. That is what all these vratas are do. They say
Yeah,
on one day you give up milk, one day you give up pulses. So I think that temple foods is unique to India, to answer your question. And also, what does it give us? It gives us a way of having a diet, which is what we are all doing in the modern. So, prasads are a good way to it's like a template for dieting, a template for health.
yeah. Yeah, true, true. Yeah, this is interesting. I didn't know and think about this. Yeah, it's really interesting, and the way, of course, the people If people who don't believe in religion also can go happily in the god's temple and have food, and nobody will stop them. But of course we do understand our roots. We get the we understand what is right to eat and what must be consumed. That's really true. um so my next question to you is, how does faith influence food? For example, Christianity and Islam, and I think Jews also. For Islam, they don't consume pork. For Christians, it's every animal is okay. For Hindus, cow is sacred. Maybe some other Jains consuming no animals, animals can should be consumed, or anything which hurts an animal must be should not be consumed. If it hurts any animals, must not be consumed. And Jainism also has very as myself a Jain, I have read about this, that even in those times when there was no huge things about, there were when there were no there were when there was no that kind of commercialization of any dairy or milk products. uh, Jains were said not to consume dairy. That's also a thing which I have read about. So my question to you is, how do you think faith influences food we have in our plates?
Hmm. So the one thing, the one religion I wanted to touch upon actually was Jainism, Lakshit. And in the book, I am told that if you go to a temple in Rajasthan, you get the Sukdi Prasad, which is supposed to be very good. And for whatever reason, I was not able to. They say God has to call you, so I wasn't called. So maybe next book I will go there. But to your question of how faith influences food, the most interesting example came from the Jews, and I write about that in the book. And for example, the way the Jews are have been searching, they've been wandering the earth searching for a homeland, and until they got Israel, that was the story. That was the story that. So for them, they said for the Passover meal, which is a festive meal for them, they would eat the head of the fish. And because they said, we want to be the head, we want to win, we want to be in power. So the faith, they created all these symbols of, we will eat the head of the fish as to prove that we are the heads of our destiny. So that is a very obvious way in which faith influences the food. In terms of the diet restrictions that you talk about with respect to pork and beef and everything, um, I am a vegetarian. So other than the Kesaria bath in Ajmer Ka Dargah is actually a vegetarian. It's made with it's like a shira. It is. But the story goes that at one of the Mughal emperors, they mixed the meat of the Nilgai with the Kesaria bath. That is the legend that goes. But in most of the temples I visited, it was entirely a vegetarian prasad that I tried. So the diet restriction with respect to pork and beef, I would not be qualified to talk about. But what I can talk about is that the prasad is influenced by the diktats of how people view their religion. So, for example, the Sikh faith views seva or service above all. So for
Yeah.
them, food is a very obvious way of doing the seva. And you go to the Harmandir Sahib or any langar, even the one in Bangalore, big, whether you're a millionaire or a pauper, you go and you are humble, you don't be very egotistical, you submerge your pride, you go there and you wash vessels, you make the roti, you serve people. So this is a way for you to control. All of us have this big shot feeling in our head. It is a way for you to control the ego. So faith uses food as a tool to cultivate the mind, and that is universal, whether it is Islam or Christianity or Hinduism or Jainism. I think they all view this as a way for polishing the people to make them go closer to God. That's what
Mhm.
faith
Okay.
uses. A
Okay.
tool. Food is
True.
a tool.
Tool. Yeah. 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 That's true. That's true. Food is a tool. And yeah, so if you could help more and give info about this, more how you think prasadams are everywhere, different in the different parts in the corners of India, and more detail about prasadams.
That's a great question. So if I may, I'll give you a few examples of what I write about.
Sure.
I've already told you about the Govind Devji Temple, which I visited in Jaipur. And in Jaipur, there are 5 temples that I visited. And there, one of the wonderful things about the Rajasthan temple that I visited in Jaipur is that, first of all, the opening to see God is quite large. Unlike South Indian temples, where it's almost, so they will rush you. They'll say, if you go to Tirupati, they'll say, keep moving, keep moving. Here it is large, so everybody is able to stand, and either here the Govind Devji temple or the Banki Bihari temple in Mathura. So everybody, it's like a rock concert. They're all standing and doing like this.
Yeah.
This is like a old-fashioned rock concert. All the devotees are dancing.
Yeah.
So there in Mathura, of course, the pedas are amazing, and I write about that. Then I write about Kashi, and I write about the Sankat Mochan Hanuman Mandir, where there is also the pedas are given. And then if you go to the Annapurna Temple, the very amazing goddess who feeds the world, there you get a variety of rice dishes as the prasad. Then I write about the Kumbh Mela, where different devotees, they will have a they'll put a shamyana and they'll be feeding people. Then I write about Jagannath Kshetra, where the Chappan Bhog, which you know is very famous, because according to legend, the Char Dhams, Lord Vishnu has a bath in Rameshwaram. He goes to Jagannath Kshetra in Puri to have his food. Then he goes to Badrinath near the mountains and meditates for humanity. He goes to Dwarka on the other side and then goes to sleep. So Jagannath is where the Lord eats. So the food there is pretty amazing. So I write about that. Then the Udupi temple of our Karnataka, I've told you about. But one of the most amazing prasadams is in Madurai, not the famous Meenakshi temple. I write about another temple, male god called Alagar. Alagar means handsome lord in Tamil. And there the prasad is a dosai, not our Darshini dosais, but it is deep fried in ghee. Okay. And it is like a cross between a vada and a dosa. And it is so amazing. So first of all, you're used to the sweet prasad. So then the fact that this is a savory item is so nice. And it's deep fried in ghee and it's huge. So the one that's offered to the Lord is about the size of a car tire. Huge dosa. So I write about why is it that this savory prasad is happening. So that is about Madurai. Then, of course, I write about Parni, where the Panchamritam is so famous, and that is a Muruga temple. So like this, I cover many shrines in the book, Lakshit. I write about Ajmer. So I tried the Sikh faith, the Islam through Ajmer, many Hindu temples, and then a Buddhist shrine in Patan in Nepal. So each one is slightly different. Each Talapurana or the story of this land is very different. And choice of the prasadams is also different. Okay. So okay. I'm surprised I'm not like 200 pounds or something. I'm just...
yeah. Yeah, true. Yeah.
Very well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. That's great. So my next question to you is, you know, what difference did you find in the Buddhist culture, the Buddhist way of feeding and eating, in the food making process in the Buddhist way and the Hindu way?
So Buddhism and Hinduism are very similar. I had the privilege of interviewing the Dalai Lama when he visited Bangalore. And he was saying that he was very fond of the ancient Hindu principles because Buddhism grew out of that. But how Buddhism is different is it is a nirvana and shunya. So they believe in nothingness and they believe in nirvana. So their food, the food, I mean, the concept of prasadam is not strong in Buddhism at all. It is much more of a faith that believes in stillness and meditation, all that Zen things. So what I write about when I write, so the Buddhism chapter in the book is not so much about the prasad, but about the concepts of Buddhism. And the fascinating thing which I learned, I don't know if you know this, Lakshit, is there is a concept called Dakini, which is very famous in Eastern India, in Assam, the Bengal belt. Now, Dakini is like Kali. It is a fierce goddess, not like Lakshmi and Saraswati, who have become Shantrasa is there. That is, they're softer. Whereas Kali, the Dakini, the Yoginis, they're all fierce. You know, they have spears, they drink blood, they dance on corpses. So the whole Dakini worship that is popular in Patan, which I visited, I write about. And I say, as a woman, I'm so used to the goddesses being, the mother goddess and the softer goddesses. So it's very interesting to see the fiercer side of goddesses. That's what I write about in that chapter.
Yeah, yeah. So this is also an interesting concept. I had learned. So I have learned a lot when I was in. Yes, I'll share a background and then it will be more easier to understand. So I have lived in France for a year for studying. For a year I was there. I studied there. So there was an, as it's Europe, the culture is almost the study. They study about the cultures nearby and the states nearby, because here the size of this one state is one country in Europe, right? Because it's how it is. So so there was an interesting thing which they said, that there is no religion which says that women are stronger. The Greek or the Roman, every the women goddesses are softer, or they are very, they are very, woman, the way society has pictured women to be soft and a kind, who works for the children and for her husband. um and yeah, that's it, and that's it, that's it, that is what is her life is. But in the Indian context of it, there are plenty of, goddesses which are, they are stronger than man. They don't fear anybody. They fight with men. They are stronger than, like Kali is stronger than Shiva. That's how it's said. So why do you think there is this difference, and why do you think there's these you know why do you think that women are, said to be not so strong in some religion, or so soft, and Hinduism shows them to be very strong and fierceful and stronger than men?
Hmm. That's a good question. Lakshit, um, I write about that in the book. As a woman, one of the problems I have with all religions is that women don't have any power in the way that religion is conducted. So I say that. I say there are no women priests, for example. Why not? And of course, there are reasons given. But most faiths are male dominated. And as a woman, I have a problem with that. So I say that. But that said, the Hindu faith has, as you say, these fierce and strong goddesses that are worshipped and accepted. And I think Lakshmi and Saraswati, I use the word, they have been softened and sanitized. So all the fierceness has been taken out of them and made more acceptable for mass worship. Whereas if you go to Orissa, Bengal, the eastern belt, Assam, the Kamakya temple, blood is the prasad. The Devi's menstrual blood is the prasad. So the cloth that is used is. So we have a way of absorbing this fierceness, the every aspect of feminism in our religion. And I wish that we continue to do so, because I think it would be a shame if you remove all the fierceness and the strength and uh, some goddesses are moody in our religion. They get angry very quickly. So I think it's much more fun for a religion if you preserve all that, and we should do that.
Mhm. And why do you think, you said that, you have one problem with every religion, that there is no woman priest, or there is no somebody who can, of course, male dominant. I think Christianity is really male dominant. The Jain community, there are only men who can become an acharya, but not a woman can become an acharya. In Hinduism, we never see a priest who is a woman in a temple. I think there will be some temple I've never. I think there will be one or two I've heard, but one temple where men are not allowed in temples. So I think there is only one woman priest over there. So I'm not sure, and have no info about that. But how do you think this can how can we bring change in this part of it, that we can even have women priest, and we have women who can, because we have seen in Finland, we have seen in New Zealand how women conduct and were very successful to battle and tackle the problems which a lot of male leaders fail to do. So how do you think
Yeah, there was.
yeah, please continue, ma'am. Yeah.
So there was this very nice article during COVID which said that, um, which listed the countries which were dealt with COVID the best, and it said they're all run by women. So
Oh,
Angela Merkel, Germany, Jacinda Ardern in New Zealand, which you mentioned already. So it's not as if now slowly it's been evolved so that women can deal with power very well. They can handle it. I think that I'm hopeful that this will be true of religion as well. As more and more women gain their voices and speak out, like I am doing, asking questions. Why is it that I cannot chant the Rudram? For example, the Shiva mantra, there is a powerful one called the Rudram. And if you ask traditional priests, they will say a woman should not chant it. So, why is that? I think the reason is that most religions were formulated by men in a male dominated world, which was the Vedic era, 1500 BC. So, we have come a long way from that. And we should 50% of the world is women, so it would be a shame to leave them behind.
Yeah.
So for the sake of when you have children, for the sake of our daughters and granddaughters, we need to include them in our faith as well, and we must.
Yeah, and yeah, as you said, everywhere the women, and we, yeah, that is also true. That I heard one interesting thing. I don't know if it was a teacher or if it was on a YouTuber where I heard that, but there was a very interesting thing. They said that the rules in this world are made for women by men, and for men that they rest in power, they are very powerful, but women are the man want to control, you know. I think you also would have heard it, or
Mm.
have read it somewhere. But that was a very interesting thing I heard, and I really liked that. And it was very interesting to me that the rules for women were made by men for men, that they can control women, so that is very interesting. And I think we had a very, I think, Shobhaji, it was wonderful to have you. It was very good to discuss about food and faith, discuss about multiple different parts of it, prasadams, and all. It was beautiful to hear you. It was wonderful. If you wish to add something more, or if you wish to talk about something more, please go ahead, otherwise we can conclude this session.
Yeah. So I want to thank you for inviting me
My pleasure.
to your show and your channel. It was a pleasure to talk to you after a long time. So
My
thank
pleasure.
you very much.
Thank you, Shobhaji. Thank you very much. And it was a pleasure to talk to you. Hope we have another session on something else and speak with you again. So thank you very much.